Okay, we should be live. It's not
Come on in. Come on in.
Hello, Rebecca.
Really? Already?
Yeah, she was already
Wow.
on there, so I hope this is working.
Great. Ask her how it sounds.
Do we sound okay, or can you not see us? Well, it says right here. Yeah, it says live right here, so it should be good.
Is the volume okay?
Oh, let's see here.
She'll say something. William. Hello, William. Hey, why's mine not coming over?
Oh, somebody said hear you. Good. Thank you.
Why is mine not coming up over here, babe? What do I click on?
That I don't know.
I don't
We're
have to
trying a
see it.
new program, guys, and I don't know how well it's going to work.
I don't have to see it. As long as you can. That's okay.
I was going to say we need to
Okay. We'll check
see,
later.
click on that right there and see. We're trying something new. Hi, guys.
It's okay.
Oh, here you go. Go to chat, sweetheart. I'm sorry. We've got a new program thanks to our friend Magnolia and JLR. She told me a program that would be good to use. So thank you all for being patient with us. We're trying, we're trying to see. Well,
Come on
hopefully
in. Come on in.
it'll be good.
We got a special show tonight.
Well,
And hopefully
yeah,
it's
that's what I was gonna say.
interesting. Um,
Let's see. Wow, we we're doing good. Thank you for asking. Um, Hi guys. Hello. Y'all are awesome. Thank you all for tuning in.
guys, have you any of you heard about this trial they're having for the Marine in New York? I'm getting a echo. Are you getting that too?
No,
I'm gonna turn my volume down.
volume might be too loud. I don't know if there's an
How's that?
echo or not. Aw, thank you. Love you too. Hi.
And we are going to try to talk about this trial that they're having in New York on Daniel Penny.
Mm-hmm.
I hope y'all stick around because it's pretty interesting, and it may even have something to do with Good Samaritans in the future and where the people step up and try to help others. And
Thanks. Someone says we're looking all professional. We're trying, guys. We're trying to. Yeah, I don't know if I really need mine either.
Okay.
If it sounds good, if y'all can hear us.
Yeah.
Thanks for bearing with us, guys. We're trying everything we can think of and all the advice that we're getting from everybody. So we're just trying. Hopefully, this works. Thank you. Welcome to our channel.
Sheila's going to. We'll give it just a second here, see if anybody else comes in.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, a lot of people that watch us, our videos go back. Used to be Sheila's videos. Now I'm hooked. She's got me here. She's got me here with it. Used to be Sheila's channel. Now I think it's my channel. She's got to find
Pulp Fiction.
Huh?
Pulp Fiction says we're doing great.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
This case that happened up in New York was the fellow that was on the subway
Mm-hmm.
with a bunch of people, and this this other guy on drugs and hostile gets on the subway and starts threatening people and threatens to kill them and doesn't care to go back to jail and all
Yeah.
this and that. The Marine, he's a Marine, but he's been discharged, honorably discharged by now. He was a civilian. He was coming
Mhm.
from college, coming from his college class for that day, and I think he was going to the gym, and he was on the subway, and
Right.
when all this took place, he come to action.
Right.
And
Right.
let Sheila just play that first clip if you want. Well, she's going to play some news footage to give you for the ones of you that's not up on it.
Right. Right.
And if you are up on it, then maybe you can give us your input. That's what we want today. We'd like to see. Sheila's got the screen fixed, looks like, so we can see the comments, hopefully,
Yeah.
and maybe all of us together. It's there's no right or wrong. It's just people's opinion as to how you feel about it, and what you would have done. And we've got some things. Sheila and I are, again, don't want to beat a dead horse, but I was a police officer for quite a while.
Right. Yep.
And Sheila and I both used to teach martial arts, and years gone by. So we know a little bit about some of this that they're talking about.
Mhm.
They're calling it chokeholds, and we call it a rear neck restraint and so forth. There's different names for rear naked choke and sleeper and different things that this Daniel Penny had gotten this Jordan Neely in. And I think it's going to be a rather lengthy video. At least we'll go until it's not interesting anymore. But with the videos that she's got to play, now understand that there's no court. Happy birthday, Marine Corps.
Ooh.
November 10th, 1775. Today's the Marine Corps birthday. 249 years. I was in Parris Island, South Carolina, sitting in boot camp. I wasn't sitting. You don't sit in boot camp, but probably running or doing PT. But yeah, on the Marine Corps' 200th birthday, 1975, I was in boot camp on the 200th birthday of the Marine Corps.
And it's also our birthday.
And it's our son's birthday is November 10th. And
yeah.
So it's an interesting time. And where was I going from there?
You was just talking about it being on the Marine Corps birthday, and you was telling that, and we're just gonna go into the video and stuff whenever you're
Okay,
ready.
If you want, go ahead and play the video.
Okay. Here we go. Let's hope this works.
Many layers to this case. We're talking about homelessness. We're also talking about mental health issues and questions over self-defense. Opening arguments begin today after a jury was selected in the Daniel Penny trial. He's the Marine veteran accused of putting Jordan Neely, who suffered from mental illness, in a deadly chokehold on a subway last year. Video of the encounter has been seen across the city and has sparked a national debate and protest.
What we may do on the next one is stop it as we go and discuss it, because I'd watched this video, but
yeah,
gentleman said just now a man got on the subway screaming, and he just he got choked out and died.
Right.
Which that's the family's lawyer and the prosecutor, but
right.
Man got on the subway screaming, hollering he was going to kill everybody, that he didn't care to go back to prison. That some of those people on that subway said they'd never been so scared. A woman with her child, and a lot of women was on there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because we've got notes here to go by, but that's what people see on the news. Is you're seeing one side, you're seeing one fellow's comments, and he says, man just got on the subway screaming a little bit and end up dead. Well, it's not exactly what happened. It's what he was screaming and what he was saying he was going to do. Daniel Penny was a United States Marine veteran.
Yeah.
This all took place on May the 1st of 2023.
Right. And they had a jury of 7 women and 5 men with 4 alternates.
And they've still got that. This case is still going on, and there's no, that's what I was going to say a while ago. Tomorrow's Veterans Day, November the 11th. And so there's no court tomorrow on this case. This case is in about its 6th or 7th day in court. And but when it resumes, it's going to get more interesting as it turns over to the defense and they start calling their witnesses. But even the prosecution's witnesses, as of right now, the people the prosecution has called, the people that was on that subway that day, thanked Daniel Penny for what he done, for coming to the rescue and so forth. Now, got to understand, when something's done and it's already, everybody's already safe, sometimes people's personality or attitudes change. You know, you saw the people out there on the street, about 10 or 12 people. Media makes it look like there's a huge gathering, but it's about 10 or 12 people. And you're going to hear on some of that here in a few minutes. But it says that New York's divided, that it's divided the entire city on which side people are on. And
Mhm.
it's a shame that people can't be on the side of justice, period, that we don't have to indict somebody because we want to please one side or the other. Because if we have protests, well, let's indict this person. Let's put them through the ringer, even though he may have saved lives that day, or at least saved harm. Let's go ahead and indict them and put them on trial. And that's what seems to be the case here. Go ahead, babe.
Mr. Penny was 25 when this happened. He is 26 years old now. He says he is 6'2" in an interview that he gave on the news there, and said that Mr. Neely was even taller than he was.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and Mr. Neely was 30 years old at the time.
He gives an interview you're going to get to see here after a while, and he talks about what happened that day.
Hmm.
And one person later said he didn't harm anyone on sub before being subdued. Later on, after this was all over with and everybody's safe, one gentleman said, well, Neely didn't harm anybody. Well, he didn't have a chance to harm anybody because after a few minutes, Daniel Penny stepped in, and and we'll talk about it here in a minute, demonstrate it, and show you what some people call a rear naked choke.
Hmm.
It's been called the sleeper. There's different, just because you got your arms around somebody's head and neck doesn't mean you're choking them. And we're going to demonstrate that on this neck restraint,
Right.
rear neck restraint. There's also a rear naked choke. This is more of what's called the sleeper. The big time wrestlers used to call it. They put people to sleep in the ring, and
Hmm.
people way back in the day, they thought it was just make believe. They thought Dusty Rhodes and some of these old time fellas was putting on a show. But there's a technique,
Yeah,
that you can do that, and we'll talk about it more in a minute. But that's how I got injured my last shift I worked. I've used the rear neck restraint hundreds of times, hundreds. It's a technique that a police officer can use. It's forbidden now in a lot of departments because you've got to have some discipline about it and know what you're doing. But and I believe that Daniel Penny did. Some people, the lay person, just looks at this hold and they think he's in a chokehold all that time. He may be in the position, but he's not in a choke position, and he may not even be flexing and be in a rear blood. He's cutting off the blood off the carotid artery and jugular vein to and from the brain.
okay.
And without oxygenized blood, you get dizzy and you even pass out or blackout. That's why Mr. Penny later on says he took him out.
Check him out. Yeah.
But that refers to other things in the Marine Corps also. So we'll discuss that when we get to it.
Hmm.
But maybe Penny prevented that. Do we have to wait until someone or a child is harmed? Again, this person says that nobody was harmed that day. Well, they wasn't harmed because he got them in a rear restraint, neck restraint. He told those on the subway what he was going to do. When he got on, he threw his coat, hit somebody sitting down, threw his coat on him, and said he wants food and money. And we're going to get to this man's criminal record here in a minute. And again, you guys, as you're going through it, if you've got a question that we don't cover, please ask, because this is interesting to us. This is something.
Yeah, it really is. It's, I feel sorry for everyone involved
Of course,
as far as that goes.
of course. But there's repercussions to our actions.
Right.
He made threats, and Penny took him at his word.
Sure.
He's from Long Island, New York. Rides the subway every day. He got out of school that day. Since Sheila's not going to go over this, I'll go ahead because she just looks at it and I'm watching her over there. And he was
Sorry, guys.
subway going to the gym, and says that a guy stumbles into the subway on drugs, rips
Yeah.
his jacket off and throws it at the people that's sitting on the benches.
Mm-hmm. And then Mr. Penny said he was listening to music and he could hear Mr. Neely over top of his music because he had his earplugs in, earbuds, whatever you want to call them. And then he said he took it out and then he could hear him say he made 3 threats. Mr. Neely did. One of them was, I'm going to kill you. I'm prepared to go to jail for life and I'm willing to die.
He could hear him yelling over his earbuds, over his music. And he took his earplugs out and he could hear him. That's 3. He made several. That's 3 of them. That's the 3 of the ones that he kept repeating, according to some of the witnesses. There was other witnesses that heard other things that he said.
Right.
And he's prepared to go to jail and willing to die and so forth like that. You know, this was a person they say now that Jordan Neely now said he had a history of mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's funny how everybody, I don't care what it is, from any case that you watch in the news anymore, it always goes back to mental illness. And sometimes I wonder, and I got to watch because I put my foot in my mouth a lot. But, you know, mental illness or just too much time on our hands, you know, no, you know, did he work? Did he have a job? A lot of people, if you work and have jobs, things to do, you don't have time to have mental illness. Life's hard enough to go through just trying to stay on the straight and level.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Garner said, you know, that he said it was a sad case there.
Yeah.
And that he didn't believe that Mr. Penny should serve any time over it.
Yeah.
You know, so
Hey, that the man died, and exactly, and that's what we're wanting as people's. And I think that's the Mr. Gardner. I think that's the
yes.
Most people's opinion of this, but not everybody speaks up. And what we're going to get to here in a minute, if we don't speak up,
Mm-hmm.
our good Samaritans are going to fade away. You know,
Mm-hmm.
right now we have things that happen, and you watch TV or the news, and you think, why didn't somebody join in? Why didn't somebody help? Well, this case here is exactly why. This young man could have stood there. He's very capable of taking care of himself. He didn't have to do nothing for nobody. As long as Neely didn't bother him, and I have a feeling that he wouldn't have. Most people look for victims they can prey on. If they look at somebody that looks like they can handle themselves, or he's not going to go for that person. He's going to go, and you'll hear here in a minute
Mm-hmm.
what this Neely fella is capable of doing. He's capable of a 66, 67-year-old. I think it was back, and this is my opinion, I didn't go back and look at the record, but back when the New York and places was going around just punching people out, they'd walk down the street and just punch them out.
Mm-hmm.
And he was charged at least 3 times. This man's been arrested at least 42 times.
42 times, yeah.
42 times. You're going to hear that a lot, but
And a lot of them, I think, were assault charges
There
on
was theft.
other people. Yeah.
There was theft charges, but the women
Yeah. Yeah. He punched one little lady
just
Yeah.
punched them out.
right in the face.
No
So-
reason. And how sad is that? Now, there's an old saying, and I'm getting ahead of our notes, but a person's past will often predict their future. If a person done something in the past, he's likely to do it again. It's not beyond him. If he's punched women in the face before and knocked them out, that's sad.
It really is. But Mr. Penny is charged with manslaughter, 2nd degree,
Yeah.
and criminal neglect.
Maybe what he wanted to tell a story was to go to jail or even be livened by the police or anything. You know, some people, this man's supposedly homeless. Neely was. He's
Mhm.
homeless. He's got a drug problem. And so, you know, everybody, I do this every time, but everybody says I've always got a tale about something. And
Story.
you know, maybe this guy wanted to go to jail. I know that's hard to believe unless you've been out there and see.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people out there that wants to go to
That's-
jail. They want, they've got food, they have got housing, companionship because they can all relate to each other in there. And as hard as that is to believe, and I worked years ago, it was a Thanksgiving evening. I was working Thanksgiving
Mhm.
and I got a call. We had a fella that was an alcoholic and he was just like I ain't gonna say a town drunk, but I guess I just did. But did have a drinking problem, but I'm not gonna mention no names, so it doesn't
Okay.
matter. But
Good.
and I responded to the call, and a lot of times when officers would respond to calls on this fella, he would fight. He wasn't that old. He was just homeless and had given up. I think he'd lost a family member or something, and he'd given up, become an alcoholic, and lived on the streets or underneath some of the buildings there.
Wow.
Anytime any other officers would respond, a lot of times he would fight. They would arrest him, but it would always be AI and a resisting charge or something. I never had the first problem from him. When I showed up, he would get in the car and take him to jail. On this, and me and him became pretty good. I felt sorry for him and tried to talk to him and try to help.
Yeah.
And on this Thanksgiving evening, I'll never forget it. I responded to the call, and it was him. And I said, "Wayne, what's going on?" He'd been drinking. He was an alcoholic. There wasn't any time that he wasn't drinking.
Hmm.
So any officer could arrest him at any time for AI, alcohol intoxication, because he was always drinking. And he said he'd been drinking, of course. It's Thanksgiving. I didn't want to take him to jail. And I said, Wayne, won't you go ahead and go back? There's a building there, and he'd go up underneath this building
Law.
in the dugout area and stay, keep warm. And this was a cold Thanksgiving evening. It already started getting cold in November. And he said, well, just go ahead and take me to jail. Now, again, he never fought with me. And I look back and I realized that maybe the reason he was fighting with some of these guys is just to up it a little bit so he could go to jail. But
Have a warm place.
and I said,
Wow.
I don't want to take you to jail, Wayne. It's Thanksgiving. And he looked at me. He said, Fred, take me to jail. He said, it's warm there, and they've got turkey today. And I said, I think it was $86.50 then, something like that for court costs that was back in the old days. I don't know what it is now, but and I said, Wayne, that's going to cost you. He said, yeah, but they let me pay it on payments when I get my check. They don't. That's okay. I'll worry about that later. And I said, get in the car. And I took them to jail and booked them. And when I went in, I told them, I said, y'all done, it was in the evening. I said, y'all done served lunch or dinner? And they said, yeah. And I said, make sure, Wayne, you got to take care of him. He needs to eat. He hasn't eaten nothing. And they fed him good. And later on, they done a newspaper article on him. He ended up dying, froze to death one year. And I always felt sorry for that fella. So, when I read this about Mr. Neely, you got to think back and you got to say, hey, other than him threatening to kill people and just wanting money and so forth like that, he had been, we have de-lifing by cops all the time. I mean, some people don't believe in the de-lifing themselves, so they let the police do it for them. And interesting case. Jordan Neely now said to have had a history of mental illness. Now, they say that he had a history of mental illness. You're going to hear a video here in a minute where these people, it makes it look like Mr. Daniel Penny was just a terrible person. He jumped on a man that had mental issues. This guy didn't get on that subway that day with a paper waving it around saying, I've got mental issues. Don't pay no attention to nothing I say. You don't know that. That man could have got on that subway and pulled out a bang bang, and they didn't know whether he had a weapon.
The medical examiner said the cause of death was from compression to the neck. And the prosecutors say Penny used excessive force.
Okay. It's not hard to say compression to the neck. If you see somebody in a chokehold or neck restraint,
Okay.
you can, it's not hard to say, oh, okay, well, he must have choked death. Wait till we get over in here, guys, and watch these body cams and watch some of these things that happened as far as evidence that's going to help you understand better what happened on that day. And, it's not hard for a prosecutor to get a charge and say, well, he used excessive force. Did he? Did he? That's what the jury's going to determine. But as we go over some of these holds, especially the rear neck restraint, you're going to see that just because a person's got a person in a position doesn't mean there's any pressure on the neck. You can release. When you tighten down, you can flex and tighten down, but you can also release. And that's what you do. And that's what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
They said he had this gentleman or this bad guy in that position for 5 or 6 minutes. Well, why didn't he die within the first minute or so?
Because he was controlling the pressure.
He's control exactly. Sheila knows. Sheila knows the rear neck restraint. She knows the rear neck and choke, the sleeper. She knows them all. And there's a technique to it. If it was a chokehold, and I'm getting ahead of myself, guys,
It's
a
okay.
chokehold,
It's all good.
choke somebody, choke yourself. What was that movie that time? Oh, Full Metal Jacket. Choke yourself. You're an instructor.
Don't do
You gotta
that.
choke yourself. But choke yourself and start cutting your wind off, or
Mhm.
let somebody else choke you and start cutting your wind off. You'll fight like a banshee. You'll be sure. Because when you take somebody's air from them, they panic. And they'll
Mm-hmm.
do anything to get loose. A rear neck restraint, call it the sleeper, you can call it whatever, but it all it does is tightens down on your carotid and your jugular.
Right.
And if you hold your hands up against your neck like this right here, like I'm doing right now, I'm getting dizzy right now. No, but serious, you'll feel yourself.
You'll start to black out.
You start to black out. You'll feel yourself getting dizzy. You can do it to yourself. But that's the thing about the rear neck restraint. You take your bicep and you put on one side, and you take your forearm and put on the other. See, when you got this elbow in front of you there, in front of your chin, down in here. Can you see that? That's against my neck. But look when I raise my head up, that's not against my throat. There's nothing in there against my throat. That V right here is letting my trachea alone. The pressure is on my carotid and my jugular.
Mm-hmm.
Just because the person's got them in that position. And when you got them in what's called rear neck restraint or the sleeper,
Mm-hmm.
you flex. And when you flex, it tightens up your bicep and your forearm, and it puts that pressure. And when you feel the
Right.
person going limp, you let up. The oxygen starts flowing again. You can feel whether and you can talk to them. I used to hold them, and I'd tell them when they'd come back to. I'd say, listen, I'm gonna let you up, but if I do,
You got to be still.
you do this again, and so forth like that. You could tell if the person was going to continue to fight. Again, they said he held this man there for 5 or 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Then he should have been dead a long time ago if he'd been choked out and choked, and his oxygen, his air cut off to his lungs. You can't you can't live without air.
Well, exactly. Yeah, you need that.
Yeah. Oh, was that a good comment? You didn't know that, huh? Guys, this will get interesting to you. I hope
Yeah, I
stay
hope
with us,
so.
because there's some stuff coming up that's really concerning. But
Okay.
anyway, go ahead, babe.
Okay. If you noticed, that when Mr. Penny had Mr. Neely in the restraint, his arms were wailing and stuff, and he was resisting and fighting. And another gentleman comes over and helps hold his arm.
Black guy. Black guy. They're wanting to say that this is racial. Everything's racial. But everything's not racial.
Right.
Everything's racial when it's going to benefit somebody in a court trial. I can understand. And everything's racial when you have a lawsuit or this and that. You want to, or you have attorneys that's wanting to file suit. You're going to hear here in a minute where this man was homeless. He's homeless.
Poor thing.
But man, he's got people galore there. poor old fella's dead now, but he's got people galore. He's the best thing since picnic.
Aw.
I wish somebody would have gave him a place to stay and some food and took care of him a little bit, because he's got friends everywhere now. There was another guy, black or white, does it matter? But I want to emphasize that because there was another guy that helped restrain Mr. Neely.
Mm-hmm.
Was he charged with homicide? Was he charged with manslaughter? Was he charged as an accessory? No. My question would also be there was he ever, I don't want to say threatened. She'll have put a disclaimer at the end of this, of course.
Yeah.
But please understand, everything we say on here is our opinion.
Yeah.
This is me talking.
Yeah.
But why there was two of them involved? This other guy, he had his arms. When you're watching these videos in a minute, you'll see this other gentleman holding Mr. Neely's arms, and you'll see his arms wailing. And if a man's got somebody in a rear neck restraint, he's behind him. You're behind that person. I was
Right.
talking a while ago. That's what ended a 40-year career for me. I'd arrested a guy,
Yeah.
and he went to fighting, and he took a swing, which they usually will. If they're going to resist, you can tell whether somebody's going to resist. You tell them they're under arrest, and when you stick your arm out, the law says you have to take physical controls. And I'd always put my arm out. When I stick my arm, I knew whether they was going to swing or not. When they swing, I'd reach around, I get them in a rear neck restraint, and I'd take them to the ground. Just sit down on the ground, and you can hold them on the ground because you can control them. And this fella, out of all the hundreds that I've done over the years,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't go to the ground. He body slammed backwards, way bigger than me. Everybody's bigger than me. But he slammed me to the back, and
Yeah.
I had my gun in my back, in my belt.
Right.
Didn't have my gun belt on. My gun was down in my pants. And when I fell on my hip and back, it really messed me up. Well, I still had them in the rear neck restraint. And I put him, got ready to say exactly what Penny said, I put him out. He passed out till they could get back up. And then when he come to, I told him, I said, we're going to walk. And he was still dizzy. I said, we're going to walk to the car. And by the time I got him to the car, he was still dizzy and stuff, but he put his hands on the car, and by that time backup come, and we put him in the car. I took him to jail, and I went to the emergency room, and that was the last shift I ever
Yeah.
worked, because he messed my back and hip up with my way I fell on my gun.
Yep.
There's, as martial artists, I'm going to tell you, and hopefully there's martial artists out there, but
Yeah.
the rear neck restraint or the rear naked choke, there's only one or two ways probably if you can get out of it, to get out. And one of them, if you're standing up, you take off with that person that's on your back, the person that's got you in that. And I know this from experience, because I told a fellow one time, I said, there's no way you can get out of it. I'll get you in a hold. There's no way you can get out. He said, okay. And I got him, we was at a service station just talking and friends.
Mm-hmm.
And I got him in the rear neck restraint. And there was a corner. This was the corner of a 7-Eleven and a brick building. And we're standing right here at the corner. And he takes off backwards, and he runs me plumb into the corner of that building.
Ow.
I fell off like a cartoon character, just sliding down. He about to kill me.
Ow. That had to hurt.
And I realized that there was a way to get out of that hold.
Right.
So that's why you take the person to the ground. If you're on the ground and you're on the bottom, he's on top of you, then you're protected. You wrap your legs around him. There's no way that he can get away. But moving on.
Okay. Penny acted in self-defense.
No. See, Sheila doesn't like controversial. I don't see you skipped one. She doesn't like the controversial. This is not racist. I'm going to show you a picture after a while.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you a picture of Fred McCoy and some of his best friends when he was in the Marines. And you'll see there's nothing racist about Fred McCoy. Well, you can go to my Facebook page and see.
Yeah.
But
I didn't upload that one, so.
it's the big picture of there, and there's an indent. There's a couple of Mexicans, and there's about 5 or 6 black fellas. And that was my friend. There's a couple of whites, but that was my friend. So
Yeah.
when people say Fred's prejudice or this and that, you can say anybody's prejudice you want. That's not Fred. The Marine Corps doesn't look at black and white. Everything in the Marine Corps is green. Everybody's your brother and everybody's green. That's the only color.
Good.
Marines are not. But Sheila skipped over this question. It said, had he been white, would he have been charged? Had Denny or Penny rather
Penny.
been had a white guy there and a white fella had died, would he have still been charged? Or had they both been black, if it was black on black? Or if it was white on, or the black on white, would he have been charged? Anybody? We don't know. I'm speculating. And I know that people out there, this is a regular thing in America, and people just don't talk about things. Everybody's afraid to say something, afraid that somebody will think, well, they're racist. That doesn't make you racist. Penny acted in self-defense, putting others' welfare above his and his own safety.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
People on the subway were the victims, the people that was sitting there that he had got on there and threatened to kill and all that.
The witnesses, bring up another video, but the witnesses were terrified.
Yeah.
The people that was on that subway were terrified, and they're even telling in court, and it's still prosecution witnesses, and they're telling how scared they was and that they had seen people go off on the subway before. And I can't imagine. I can't imagine. It'd be like what's that movie with oh my Lord, Next of Kin, Patrick Swayze.
Patrick Swayze
Yeah.
next to Ken when
It'd be like
they
me
were in New
going to
York.
New York and riding the subway. I can't imagine what it
Oh.
must be like. But they talk about how they'd seen things on the subway before, but they had never seen nobody acting like this. It was that bad.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
He's pleaded not guilty to second-degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide. Alice Gaynor covers courts and was there as more passengers testified.
A daily subway rider told the jury she's seen many incidents on the train before, but on May 1st, 2023, on board this F train, there was a moment where I thought I was truly going to die. She explained a screaming 30-year-old Jordan Neely entered the subway car in soiled clothing. He said, "I don't care if I die. I don't care if you die. Lock me up for life." Very, very, very aggressive threats. She testified she didn't see Neely make any physical contact with anyone. She also didn't see any weapons on Neely, but I truly felt that he was most likely armed. With nowhere to go because the train was in motion, she said, she felt a sense of relief when Daniel Penny restrained Neely. Neely's father stood up in the gallery and, as he left, said, "She's a bleeping liar." Cell phone video taken by a high schooler was played. That teen took the stand visibly nervous, soft-spoken, and crying at one point. We heard her tell a 911 operator of Neely he's trying to attack everybody.
Tried to pour water on his head. Now, this is a fella that just came up from another direction. He wasn't on the subway. He didn't see what happened. He didn't see why Penny had Neely in a rear restraint. He just started filming or commenting. Said he tried to pour water on his head. You wouldn't want to pour water on somebody's head and somebody else with them in a rear restraint, neck restraint. Why if it goes down his windpipe, or why if he chokes to death? You wouldn't want to. It's nothing to do with the water. He wasn't trying to refuse him from getting treatment. He just didn't want the water choking the person, making it worse. Now, look at that big yellow coat that Penny's got on. And again, it's hard to, if there's people out there that's ever familiar with rear restraint, neck restraint stuff, then you'll know what I'm talking about. But a big coat like that, you've got that big coat. It's hard to, he could have misjudged the amount of pressure because he's got his winter coat on. Remember when he came on the subway, Neely took his coat off and threw it at somebody. Said he wanted their money and wanted some food. Well, he had food. He had food in his coat. When they searched his coat later on, he had something to eat. It's not like he was starving. But for this gentleman to say he wanted to pour water on his forehead and Penny wouldn't let him.
Mm-hmm.
And again, guys, just because he's sitting there with his arms around his neck and his legs around him, doesn't mean he's putting pressure, applying pressure. Just means he's got him there if he needs to. If he continues fighting you got to understand, each time he was letting him go, that's when he was wailing his arms, and the other guy was trying to hold on to his arms. Each time he would ease up on the pressure, then he would start coming to, then he was continuing to fight.
Right.
When a person's not fighting anymore, then you say, hey, you're going to be okay now, or you're going to stop. Didn't get a chance because every time he'd ease up on the pressure, he'd start coming to. He'd let him, he'd have to apply more pressure to get control over him. Go ahead, bud.
Penny's attorney.
Okay, I see a question there, but we'll answer that one later on. Reckless and negligent. There's two elements there to these charges that Penny's charged with, either reckless or negligent. Was he reckless and was he negligent? This is a fella that got on a subway to go from his college class to the gym, going on about his day, just like all these other people, mostly women, it looks like on that
Women and children.
subway.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
One woman put her child behind her, afraid that something was going to happen to him. But this is not somebody that was in a bar hanging out looking for a fight, intoxicated. This was not somebody just looking to, this guy's a hero. They're not calling him that. And that's the sad part. This guy stepped up when nobody else did. And that's a hero. Was he reckless? No, he didn't. Big old guy, 6 foot something, 6'2" or 6 foot. But
He was, yeah.
he's big enough to win at it. Plenty big enough to punch Neely 2 or 3 times, and he's a Marine. He's not been out of the Marine Corps, but since 21, I think it was. 2021, he got out, so he's not been out that long. He's in good shape. He's going to the gym to work out. He could have made a scene. He could have just went sparred all day long. He could have punched him out. He didn't punch him in the face or harm him. Got him in a simple rear neck restraint. Was he negligent? Not intentionally. Was he negligent? Was the maybe an influence on it, on the pressure, the amount of pressure? Could be, but I don't think so, because you're going to hear in a minute when the cops got there, he was still alive. So the rear naked choke, the rear neck restraint, the sleeper, whatever you want to call it, was not the cause of his death. Either the drugs in his system, either heart attack from, do you think Mr. Neely worked out every day? Homeless person, living on the street? Do you think he was in good physical condition? No. So exerting himself like that, he could have had a heart attack. It was a genuine threat. When he come on that subway, genuine threat. Was Daniel Penny's actions justified? End of the day, it was about someone willing to stand up and try to protect others.
Did Mr. Penny do the right thing? What would you all have done if you all were in his position on the subway like that and someone got on there and was acting aggressively? How would you all handle it? What would you do?
Yeah.
Would you all do like Mr. Penny did and step up and, take care of the situation, or would you just ignore the gentleman? It's
Ignore him, not knowing if he had a knife, not knowing if he had a bang.
well, it's hard, to say what each person would do, because everybody reacts differently to situations. Of course, I would be very cautious of him and be watching to see if he has instruments that could do damage on his persons. So,
had Neely not boarded the subway like he did, threatening people, would this have ever even happened? Let's say the man just gets on the subway like everybody else did, would this Penny guy grab him in a rear neck restraint just out for no reason? No, we know that. Jordan Neely was from Harlan, with extensive criminal record. We'll talk about it later.
Right.
People shouting justice for Jordan.
Hmm.
Say his name. Say his name. Al Sharpton says, we're not going to stop until we change this nation. Change this nation. A man gets on a subway. I don't care if he's black, white, green, yellow. We don't care what color he is. A man gets on a bus and starts threatening people that I'm going to kill you. I don't care to die. I don't care to go back to prison. No justice, no peace.
Mm.
Sometimes justice is in the eye of the beholder. You know, the sad thing about this all is, out of 42 arrests, we have this fella out here still on the streets.
With the
Over-
mental illness.
they're saying mental illness. Sometimes mental illness can be misconstrued with nothing more than a drug addict and being sorry,
Okay.
not having a job, not wanting to work. But at the same time, that's my opinion. But why wasn't this fella either in a mental if he's actually got mental problems? Why is he in a mental institution? Has any of his family members ever? I'd love to know this. I wish somebody in the court, and they may very well do it. He's got looks like he's got a very capable bunch of attorneys, but
Okay.
did his family ever at any time in his 30-some years old, did they ever file a mental petition? A family member against him to have him picked up, evaluated, mentally evaluated,
Mhm.
institutionalized at any time? Everybody wants to say now that he had mental problems. Oh, he just act like it because he's mental. Well, then does the past show that he's had mental issues as far as in a mental hospital? Because we know that he's got 40 some charges on him,
Oh, yeah. It's over
arrested
40.
over 40 times.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We did see
No
that.
justice, no peace. If Neely had mental issues, why was he allowed to be on the streets to run wild?
Right.
Had anyone ever filed a mental petition on the head of our notes? Go ahead, babe.
It's been said that Penny held Neely in the chokehold until he stopped moving.
First of all, who's calling it a chokehold? The prosecution.
Okay.
The prosecution. Guys, again, if you choke somebody, you're going to hear them gasping for air, and you're going to see them fighting for their life when you cut somebody's oxygen off. This is not a chokehold.
It's a restraint.
If you look at that V, again, you'd have to be in person where you could demonstrate it. And
Yeah.
maybe you can go online and find it. Rear naked restraint or the rear neck restraint hold. Call it whatever you want, but it's a restraint. This is not to choke. The choke is where you pull your forearm around. Now, when you put your forearm in front of their throat and it's going straight across, now you're choking somebody.
Right.
But when you got that V, you're not choking. Also being said, Penny held Neely in a restraint hold until he stopped resisting. Well, I was going to say this a while ago. Penny is behind Neely. He can't see his face.
Right.
He can't see his eyes. He don't know what's going on. He's in behind him, laying on the floor.
Trying to control
All
him.
he can see is this other guy, holding his arms and fighting with him on top of him. The other guy's wrestling with him. He's got his arms holding him.
Yeah.
And as long as Penny back there sees this and he feels this guy flexing and moving, he knows he's still resisting. He knows he's still trying to put up a fight. Go ahead.
Choke. Excuse me. Choke, bad, and restraint, not so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, choke's bad. If you're choking somebody, you're gonna cut their oxygen, your air off, and you can kill them, no doubt.
Sure.
You know,
It's something you
kill them by the blood restraint if you hold them there long enough. But he's been there for 6 minutes. He's letting off. He's releasing. He's taking hold, releasing. He was alive, and we're going to go in. You're going to see a video where this man, when police got there, and Penny gets up, he's still alive. The police check his pulse. He's still alive and breathing.
Yeah.
Then after a few minutes, They say, well, he's not. Well, after a few minutes, that could be the drug overdose. That could be a heart attack. That could be some other medical issues that I've seen that possibly could have had. But he held him in a restraint hold until the threat was over.
Mhm.
And that's what you do. When the threat is over, he would release. And he would start breathing normally and carrying on. And witness told police Neely's movements before making the threats and scaring passengers moments before making the arrest. They told police how Neely had scared them, how
Right.
threatened them.
How he leaped at him. Some of them he would
Of
jump
course,
out at him, and
one person says, but there was no indication he was violent. Well, that's what they say now. That's what they say for court.
mhm.
Now that he's in court, it's easy to come out and say, well, wasn't afraid of him. Are you going to say that when you go outside and you look and you see some of the streets lined up, holding signs and justice, no peace, all this and that? Are you going to go against them?
Verbally making threats could be considered violent, just according to the threat.
Yeah, he said there was no indication he was violent, really. An indication that somebody's violent to me is come up to me and say, I'm gonna kill you. Come up to me and say, I don't care to go back to prison. I don't care to go to jail. I don't care to, like you're intimidating what, come up to you, not just me.
Well, if a person doesn't know that, I mean, that's his intent. He's telling you what he's intending on doing, so you have to take that person at their word.
See, great, babe. And take him at his word. If a man tells you that nowadays, you might want to take him at his word. I'm going to kill you, because a lot of times nowadays, that's usually they don't even tell you anymore. You just all of a sudden something happens.
Yeah.
Why wait to be harmed? Do you have to wait? This man's told you, I'm going to do this to you. I'm
Mhm.
going to do that. Do you have to wait till he does it? Did Mr. Penny have to stand there and wait until the person goes and hurts this woman or her child or somebody else there? And then all of a sudden he says, hey, I better step up. I might be next. Who says you have to wait till you see somebody do this? He stepped up, and he might have prevented somebody else from getting sucker punched. He'd done it before.
Mhm.
Why wouldn't he punch one of those women now?
Yeah, he had a history of doing that. So
He told them he was going to kill them. And words have consequences.
right.
Word
Right.
has consequences. Manslaughter second carries 20 years.
So Mr. Penny could get up to 20 years.
Sure. If he's
Wow.
convicted, a Marine, a citizen,
Veteran, yeah.
no criminal record whatsoever,
Right.
going to college, trying to better himself, innocent, that's your victim. You guys want to know who the victim is. You want to know no peace. That's the victim. But see, people don't stand up for people like that, like other people do. It's not right, but
The outcome of this is going to change how people
It
do
could.
things in the future, I'm
and I
sure.
think it will.
I'm sure it will. Mr. Neely, he was homeless. He was a drug addict. They said he had mental illness, and maybe other medical conditions contributed to his death.
Maybe other
So-
medical conditions we've heard about on there
Right.
that may have contributed. The thing is, always remember, he was breathing, he was alive, and
Mhm.
had a pulse when the police responded to him.
Right.
And
Did I hear somewhere that he had what they call it, K2 in his system as well?
yeah, I think that's a synthetic marijuana or something.
Oh,
but,
okay, I didn't
he had
know.
drugs in his system.
I don't know about that
It's
stuff.
okay.
So
I don't know a lot anymore. There's so many new things out there now.
mhm.
Mental illness is always brought up after something happens, it seems. Attorney, prosecutor always use that as a defense,
And if
especially in a person's deceased. If he's deceased, it's funny that everybody realizes now that mental disorder, but been
Yeah.
nice if they would have realized it prior to this and got him
Before.
some help. They realized he's homeless, didn't have a place to live, said he was hungry, wanted food.
Mhm.
Wish these people would have gave him a place to stay.
Exactly.
Again, did any members of his family file a mental petition? ever against him seeking help. Neely didn't get on the subway waving his mental medical
Yeah, we
records
done,
around.
yeah.
Never showed nobody no medical records. Hey, I'm mentally ill. Don't pay no attention to me. I'm just talking. A man with 42 arrests, at least
Mhm.
42 arrests for assaulting elderly people, punching them for no reason.
Yeah.
And, maybe that is a mental disorder. Maybe that is something only a mental person would do. I'll tell you who else would do that. Somebody that's mad at the world. Somebody that thinks everybody owes them something. Somebody that won't work,
Mhm.
don't want a job, won't have a job, and they just want to blame everybody else for their problems. I got a tap on the leg there. Didn't mean that in a mean way.
Okay, I'm just,
I didn't mean that in a mean way. I'm
Yeah.
not specifically talking, but you
okay.
could call that a mental on a lot of people. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're mental. It may just be that they mad at the world.
Yeah, it could be from everything that's
Could
going
that have
on.
been even made things worse, the threat? Penny reacted to a possible threat before anyone was hurt. Let's give him credit. Give
That's
credit
right.
where credit's due.
He took him at his word.
He took him at his word and
Yeah.
he jumped into spring into action. That's Marines. Listen, it ain't
Protect and
Marines.
serve.
It ain't just Marines. It's Navy, Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, Reserves, National Guard, anybody that's in the military.
Mm-hmm.
That would be somebody in, and it's just not even military. That would be something men or even women with the intestinal fortitude to do it. Say, hey, something's got to be done. I'm not going to let this happen.
Hello, Mr. JLR. Good to see you. Mr.
What?
JLR
Yeah.
is in the house.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Could that have been made worse of the threats? Penny took Neely at his word. Could the outcome of the court case prevent people from stepping up in the future? You know it can.
Yeah.
You know this is going to have a bearing on the future. People stepping up and trying to come to somebody else's rescue.
It's going to start. Yeah. It's going to, people on the outcome of this will keep people from helping each other. They'll just keep walking on by and not doing anything.
What if
So,
you'd been on the subway? Would you have been a good Samaritan that stepped up? You know where the Samaritan comes from? I'm sure a lot of you do, but the Good Samaritan law, that came from, it's come from the Bible, actually
Mhm.
from, I don't know it real good, but the Samaritan, I don't even think the person that the Samaritan came to help was even a Samaritan. I think it may have been from another religion or whatever, but he stepped up and they helped. This person
Mhm.
needed help that they run up on the highway.
right.
And that's what was happening. At one time, people were suing. People would pull somebody out of a burning car. But they're either going to burn to death or maybe paralyzed if they moved their back or their neck, and somebody sued. And then finally it come to the point where nobody was going to help. People was passing by car accidents and things, and because they was afraid if they stopped, they'd get sued. They come up with the Good Samaritan law. So if a person acts in good faith
Right.
and he tries to do something good, that you can't be held liable. And it's a great law. It's a great way for people to get help. But with this world like it is, or especially America, if we don't take up for these people that take up for other people, people's going to quit doing it altogether.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where we at, babe?
Just going to keep on walking by.
What if you had been on the subway? Would you have been a good Samaritan? Now, even now, no one wants to get involved
Yeah.
in convicting him of a crime just to please others, just to please a few attorneys. That's probably no doubt going to file, if they haven't already, a civil suit.
Mhm.
They were mad at the police officers because the police officers didn't give mouth to mouth to Mr. Neely. They said he was nasty. They said he was a drug addict. They said he was homeless.
Yeah.
They was afraid that they would catch something from him.
Right.
Again, this here is all because of Mr. Neely's actions. Let's not forget that. All these court cases, all these people out on the street, all this, well, there's not all these people. It makes it look like there's a bunch, but there's
Mhm.
there's not as many there as you think, I don't believe.
Mm.
But the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yep. That's an old saying.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease. And when you
Yeah.
have people protesting and holding signs and carrying on, they want justice or no peace. Sometimes we indict people to let the courts handle it. So
What do you guys think? Was Mr. Penny a vigilante or was he a knight in shining armor? What's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah.
Just,
To me, he's a knight in shining armor.
yeah. I think he's a good Samaritan trying to help some people.
To those on the subway that day, we think the latter. We think he was a knight in shining armor to a lot of those people. Hearing those women talk,
Yeah.
play you another video, babe.
Okay.
Let's
Let's
let
see.
There's one on here where these women's
Right
at.
here. I think this is it here. It'll start up here in just a second, guys.
Click it again.
Gaynor has been in the courtroom every day of the trial so far, and reports on the police worn body cam played in court today.
The whole train was freaked out. He was either gonna like pull a gun, a knife, or like. Said, I'm willing to die. I'm willing to die.
Let's correct one thing. That's not a chokehold.
Right.
Had him in a rear
Restraint.
neck restraint, rear
Mhm.
neck restraint, not a chokehold. If you look at his elbow there, you'll see his elbow's in front of his Adam's apple. His elbow's in front of his throat, which gives you that gap there. There was
And,
nothing touching. There was nothing choking his trachea. And you'll see if the Marine instructor comes in, his maps, they've got a program now. It's called Marine Corps martial arts program. Here's you, and it's coming up in a minute. I won't get ahead of myself, but we'll talk about the Marine Corps gives out belts now in the martial arts, and we'll talk about his belt and his level of training and so forth when it comes up. But anyway, one person said that they want him to be found guilty and get probation. Well, if he's found guilty, he's a convicted.
he won't get probation.
If he's found guilty, it's run his life. Went in the Marine Corps young age, and here he is, a person, and because he stepped up to help people. He
had no criminal history
not
at all.
criminal history.
It was, yeah.
Who says innocent to the conviction of an impeccable record he's got. It's not like the veteran set out to kill somebody that day.
Right.
It's not like he went out there and said, "Hey, I think I'll just off somebody today." That's not what happened here. And the media and the wording, the chokehold, you'll see pictures. You don't. We'll discuss it. They'll come up again, but you'll see pictures of this fella. Real pretty pictures. A beautiful baby.
Law.
But Neely wasn't on that subway threatening to kill people as a baby. He's a 30-year-old man.
Yeah.
With a criminal record, extensive criminal record. But they show him when he was I can show you pictures of Charles Manson when he was a baby. Jeffrey Dahmer. Everybody's got baby pictures. That he's not there as a baby. He was a cute baby. I
Law.
wish but
Yeah, right.
it's not.
Mr. Penny was minding his own business like everyone else that day. One person was at fault on the subway that day.
It's that fault. It caused this issue on that subway.
Yeah.
The Marine did what he was trained to do, and that was protect himself, especially. Marines are not like police. Police protect themselves. Police protect themselves, but the general public also. We can't say that about the Marine. Marines are taught to protect our country, and protect themselves and protect their brothers, and that's what you do. But in doing that, the Marines teach you to God, family, country, and Corps, and so forth. You got values.
Right.
This Marine had values instilled into him that he knew. He could see the fear. He says, you're going to see an interview of him in a minute, and he could see the fear in these people's eyes.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm going to tell you what I gather from this guy. I gather that he's probably a lot like Fred McCoy and some of these people on here. If he knew the outcome right now, if he knew that he'd be sitting in that courtroom right now where he's at, and this happened again, he'd do exactly the same thing again. He would step up and take up for these people. That's just the type of people are, especially veterans.
Right.
The Marine did what he was trained to protect others. Penny stepped up when he saw
Right.
others in fear.
Was his actions reasonable?
was his actions reasonable? And
Since
that's
he
the
was a
question.
non-police officer. since
And
he-
that's the question. That would be the question for the prosecution. These charges should have never been the grand jury. You know, I've always said you can indict a bologna sandwich. If a prosecutor wants a grand jury to bring back an indictment,
Mhm.
they'll get an indictment. That's just the way that it is.
Yeah.
It's sad, but that's just the way that it is.
Miss,
And if they don't want an indictment, you won't get one. You'll have no true bill returned. He's got no police training.
right. He only has his military training, that he's got in his background. Was only holding Neely until, the police came. He was trying to restrain him until they came to take care of him.
You know, if that'd been a street fight, if that would have been him wanting to really put on a show, all you gotta do is take the rear neck restraint off,
Uh-huh.
come around, right there's his head, right in front of him's his head. He could have come around, punched him, just punched him. He could have, like a UFC fighter,
He was trying not to hurt him.
restrained.
I feel that's why he was trying to restrain him the way he was doing. So he doesn't get hurt and nobody else gets hurt.
He was trying to restrain him.
Yep.
Do you give Neely time to pull his bang bang or a knife? Do you give him time? He's made the threat.
Mhm.
Penny didn't try to spar. He didn't try to fight with him.
Okay,
He didn't strike him. Never struck him the first time.
right.
He did the most violent thing he could do. A rear neck restraint hold.
Hmm.
That was the least violent thing that he could do. Simply get him in a rear neck restraint, fall back to the ground, take him to the ground, wrap his legs around him. And that was it. The other fellow was trying to hold his arms. You don't have to hold their arms. If you've got them in the rear neck restraint, they can't get to you. You're behind them. They can do anything, but you can. That was nice of the fellow coming to the rescue and showing that he also felt like Penny did, that Neely was a threat. Or do you think he would have been over there trying to help?
That's right. Was it the hold that killed Mr. Neely? Or was it a heart attack, drugs, or other medical conditions, excuse me?
Or was it Neely who was responsible for killing himself? Was it racism? Penny was a Marine. Marines don't look at black or white, Indian, Hispanic. Marines are green. We're all green. We're all green right there, olive green. Report said when the police arrived, Neely still had a pulse. They give him Narcan, for the possible drug overdose that he's on. I don't know a lot about Narcan and all that. I've been
Right.
out of it for a while now, but my question would be, and maybe somebody on here knows more about it certainly more about it than I do, or Sheila, but can Narcan have a adverse effect on somebody? Can it hinder a person's breathing? I know it's supposed to open the breathing, but can it also work on somebody differently? Could this be an odd case? Could this be something that when the police gave him the Narcan, that's what caused? Because when the police gave him the Narcan, Neely was breathing and had a pulse. All of a sudden, then we're doing CPR. That wasn't something that Penny did. What, you wouldn't give somebody, a deceased person, Narcan. You
Right.
give that while there's an overdose and you're trying to let them breathe easier.
Right. But he still had the pulse, yeah.
Yeah, he had the pulse when they gave him the Narcan.
Right.
So that means he wasn't choked to death.
That's what I was gonna say.
Thank you, baby.
He wasn't choked. He was just restraining him, and he still had a
he's
pulse.
still breathing. He still got a heartbeat.
Hmm.
Could it have been the Narcan? Other causes of death that he still could have had. And it says here Narcan and the blood pressure drops and different things. It's talking about. I looked it up, and I'm not going to comment on it. You can Google it, but we've heard people say different things. So, but anyway, almost certainly nice if somebody would have stepped up and helped him. See, I told you I was going to get ahead of our thing here, but maybe give them a place to stay. What's your thoughts? Neely, criminal history? 3 unprovoked assaults. He had at least 3 unprovoked out of them 40 some arrests. Some's for thieving, some's for different things, but he had a bunch of assault charges, and 3 of them was for just punching people out of the blue.
Just walking up and knocking them out. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you wait till a person punches an innocent person? One thing I've learned in police career is a person's past will often predict their future.
Yeah.
Not a choke hold, it's a
Right.
submission hold.
Okay.
And there's a huge difference. There's a
Right.
huge difference between a choke hold and a submission hold. Blood restraint or air choke. Was he restricting the blood flow to and from the brain, which would let him black out?
Mm-hmm.
Or was he choking him so he couldn't breathe, which would cause death?
Well, if you're choking somebody, I could be wrong on this, but that means that you're intending on mostly likely to hurt him, whereas he was restraining.
And they said that. The prosecutor, at least they didn't charge him with murder
Right.
because they said they didn't think that he meant, that's why he's charged with voluntary manslaughter.
Manslaughter. Mm-hmm.
They didn't think he intended. Well, if you didn't think he intended to murder him, if you didn't think he intended anything bad to go wrong, he was just there as a good Samaritan, why charge him at all, except to try to please or appease other people?
Okay.
Or that's my opinion, my thoughts.
So do you want to listen to
Yes,
his interview?
yeah.
Okay, we're going to add his interview on here.
At Second Avenue, a man came on, stumbled on. He appeared to be on drugs. The doors closed, and he ripped his jacket off and threw it at the people sitting down to my left. I was listening to music at the time, and he was yelling, so I took my headphones out to hear what he was yelling. And the 3 main threats that he repeated over and over was, "I'm going to kill you. I'm prepared to go to jail for life, and I'm willing to die." You know, this was a scary situation, and Mr. Neely came on. He was threatening.
There was a guy in the train saying that he's ready to go to jail. He was going to harm people in the train. So a guy who steps in.
You know, you've never heard no testimony or nobody say that any ever cursed at Neely. Never called him any racial names.
Right.
Never done anything to him except get him in that hole and hold him there waiting for the police to come. That's it. No evidence whatsoever that there was anything out of the way said by Penny or anything. Nothing personal. He just holding them there till the police come. And when the police come, he gave them a live person.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what this was. Was there malice against Mr. Neely? Cursing and threats, etc.
Listen to the 911 call of the 18-year-old girl. Now, since then, she's took the stand and they said, "Do you think he was a threat if he'd got up?" And she said, "No." And well, it's different now. Different after you live through it and it's over. But when she called, he's trying to attack everyone.
She tells.
He's trying to attack everyone. She tells it. That's her words. That's a quote. He's trying to attack everyone. She tells the dispatcher.
Yeah.
Then later on, when they ask her on the stand, of course, could that be? I don't know. My opinion, could it be peer pressure? Could it be these signs out in front of the courthouse? People screaming, hollering, megaphones. No peace, no rest. Is she afraid somebody will get her address or do something to her? I don't know. That's a question I would have, because when she was on the phone with the dispatcher, she said, "He's trying to attack everyone."
And she
was in
sounded
fear.
scared. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of Monday morning quarterbacking going on this case. You heard it again. Wanted to put water on his head. Listen to this reporter in a chokehold. Had him in a chokehold. He's in a chokehold. He took him to the ground in a chokehold. It's not a chokehold, see. But in all these people's minds out here watching that news, they're thinking, "Whoa, he's choking." Guys, let me tell you something. Again, I won't get Sheila, but there's no way of telling. Just because he's got him in that restraint, there's no, that doesn't mean there's pressure on his arms. He's definitely not choking if you look at his elbow. But that doesn't mean there's pressure. It's not a chokehold. He didn't want no water because he's afraid to get choked. Which
Exactly.
Neely was still breathing.
Yeah.
Penny's statement. He didn't want no water on his head because he was still breathing. He didn't want him to inhale water
Mhm.
in his lungs or something.
And he
choke
did
him.
turn him over on his side.
Turned him over on his side, done everything that he could do to
Mhm.
try to make it more comfortable or more in case he threw up or anything like that. Penny's statement. Here's what happened to a lot of times our mouth. Our mouth. I hope some of y'all out there listen to us because Sheila and I used to, when we taught the carry concealed class, we'd tell people, you got to watch that mouth. You got to watch what you say. There's people that's made statements before that was totally justified in using deadly force, but they made a statement or said something trying to be macho or tough or whatever, and it turned around and bit them in the butt. You want to use deadly force, or you have to use deadly force.
Mhm.
You've got to express to that officer or the courts or whoever, I thought I was going to die. I thought he was going to kill me. I thought if you use deadly force, surely that's what you thought, or you would not have done what you've done.
Imminent danger.
But this guy here, and he didn't mean nothing by it, but I can see the police. He says it on video. If he hasn't done it yet, you'll see one. And he tells the police officer, I put him out. I put him out. That's a term used.
Mhm.
Terms used in Marine training. I put him out of commission. I put him out of the game. I put him out of the competition. Put him out of the field meet. I put him out in Pugo sticks. That's nothing bad. That's just a slogan. That's just a phrase that Marines and probably every other branch of military uses as far as when you're playing a game, you're in Pugo sticks and you beat the opponent. I
Mhm.
put them out. You put them out of the. Now, what he's probably, I don't want to second guess him, but what he's talking about is that he put him out as far as his carotid and jugular,
Mhm.
as far as the restraint hold, as far as letting him calm down and then ease up.
Mhm.
Everything come back. He starts being combative again. You can see the guy on his chest fighting with him, holding his arms.
If it'd been, and again, if it'd been a different thing, he used a different word like I took.
Yeah, that is
The
a Marine
wording
Corps.
would have been different.
You'll
Yeah.
hear the Marine if they send an instructor there, a martial arts instructor. You'll hear him talk about that phrase. That's not an uncommon phrase. That doesn't mean nothing bad. That
Right.
doesn't mean he's bragging. That doesn't mean he's trying to let him know that he was trying to relax him. He's trying to. Would a person make this statement, derogatory statement, after a person's dead or they're doing CPR? Would a person? This was later on that they were interviewing him. Would he actually make a derogatory, if that was a
Right.
derogatory statement, would he actually say that to the police? No, that ain't something you would say if you was guilty of anything, but that's just a term that Marines use.
Mhm.
No proven Mr. Penny didn't mean it in a derogatory manner.
Right.
Was Mr. Neely seeking an altercation? Was he seeking a fight? Sure sounds like it.
Mhm.
Suicide, said that word, didn't
That's
he?
okay.
Laughing by cop.
Yeah.
Laughing. There's it goes on every day, especially with the homeless. Especially that's why we should try to be good to each other.
Mhm.
That's why we should get you a cheeseburger and you see somebody out there hungry. We don't have to give them money at these intersections to go
Right.
get them a bottle with, but we can buy them
Feed
a
'em.
cheeseburger.
Feed them. Yeah. And one lady said that Mr. Neely had scared the daylights out of everybody. Yeah.
Could that be you?
She was on there talking about that.
Just because Penny was a United States Marine doesn't mean he wasn't scared. That's about as true a statement as you could make.
Yeah.
Marines don't train how not to be scared. That's a human emotion. Marines teach how to
Mhm.
improvise and what, Sheila?
Adapt and overcome.
Improvise, adapt, and overcome. That's the Marine Corps.
Right.
No matter what's thrown at you, improvise, adapt, and overcome it. A human emotion of fear is something that's in all of us. I don't care how tough we act as Marines or anything else, cops or anything.
Right.
There's still fear. So you don't, as a police
You're
officer
human.
or Marine or anything, you don't feel it or see it till something's over with the situation. Then you come out And somebody was talking a while back about PTSD. We were talking about
Right.
the other case, and you're exactly right. Wake up in the middle of the night and you're thinking, well, what if this would have happened? What if that would have went wrong? So he wasn't without fear.
Right.
This is not a big macho guy that just stepped up trying to be a macho man. He stepped up trying to help. Not a chokehold, simple restraint hold. Had it been a chokehold, Mr. Neely would have been gasping for air and he would have been dead way, way before 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And I wish the coroner or the medical examiner would have looked at that, because that proves it right there. If he would have,
Mr. Neely, he got on the subway. He was screaming out that he was hungry, thirsty, and ready to delight someone.
or was he looking for a fight? How hungry was he? When they searched his jacket, when he come on the bus, he threw his coat over on somebody, and that's when he started threatening everybody. And when they searched his coat, when it was all over with, he had a muffin,
He had-
blueberry muffin
Yeah.
in his coat. Couldn't have been very hungry. He had something to eat. I think he was using that as a way to, because he said he's hungry, wants something to eat, and he wants their money. He was strong arm robbery is what he was trying to do. He was trying to get money from somebody.
Mhm.
Several witnesses said they feared for their safety, including Mr. Penny.
Sure.
Even in fear, sometimes you have to take a fight to them instead of being a victim and being attacked first. And guys, that's what we talked about in that sheriff's case up in Whitesburg, up in Lecter
Right.
County. Sometimes you have to take the fight, and Marines will do that. That's any branch of service, any military branch. Don't let me just brag on the Marines. That's what you do. But when you see that you're going to have to fight, like that old saying, act like you're the third monkey getting on the ark. And brother, it's starting to rain. And that's what you fight, like you're
Exactly.
backed in a corner and you're fighting for your life. And sometimes you don't wait until you're hit first. Sometimes you don't wait till you're attacked or a weapon is pulled. Penny was on him to discharge from the Marines in 2021. No criminal record. Another
Right.
witness stated Neely entered the subway demanding food and money, saying, "I'll kill you." We know it wasn't about food because he had food in his pocket. It was about robbery. Or was it? Was it about robbery? Was it about thieving from people, making them so much fear
Mm-hmm.
that they automatically just pulled out a $5 bill or $10 bill? Most
Mhm.
people would do that for you, period, if you just are hungry.
Yeah.
All he had to do if he wanted food was probably tell somebody he was hungry, and they would have probably given him
Yeah.
something to
Well,
eat.
sure.
Trial started October the 21st. Today is November the 10th.
Mm-hmm.
Penny had a large coat on and had to judge the accurate amount of force. I'm not saying that it couldn't be an accident.
Oh, sure.
If we have to have an excuse, we know it wasn't premeditated. We know it wasn't intentional. We know it wasn't
Right.
negligent. We know it wasn't reckless. Could it have been an accident? Of course. It's
Yeah.
hard to judge with that big coat on. But
Mhm.
with the cops getting there and him still being alive and breathing and a heartbeat, that tells me that he gave them a live person. Now it's on them. They administered the Narcan. They didn't do I wouldn't either. I'm not condemning these guys, but they didn't do the mouth to mouth. They didn't give them air. Penny didn't start the fight, guys. Neely attempted
That's
to
right.
escape, squirming around, and he even had help in the situation. Police could have made a difference, but failed to act, and rightly so. Dirty, homeless, possible druggie,
Mhm.
just like we would do, any of us out here on there. Why weren't cops charged? Why wasn't the cops charged with homicide for failure to act? If this prosecutor, guys, I could be wrong on this. I could be wrong, but I think this is Alvin Bragg. I think this is the same prosecutor that a while back let those 5 illegals beat up on cops and then turned them
Turned him
loose.
loose.
I could be wrong. Don't hold me to that. I didn't research it. I just, but I think this is in the same district that he's
Wow.
in. And if it is, and you don't charge 5 illegals for attacking police officers, and you charge a U.S. Marine for taking up for a bunch of women, shame on you.
Somebody said, yes, it's the same
Is it
prosecutor.
really? See,
See, somebody just said that. Yes, same prosecutor.
sad.
But he's
So
sad,
sad, because this is a human being. This is a man. It's sad. Oh,
Yep.
Sheila's kicking me. No, she's actually not. I know that she thinks it's sad too. But
Yeah,
this
it
is
is sad,
it's a
sad all the way
human being.
around. Yeah.
This is his life.
Hmm.
He's got his whole life ahead of him, and
He's being
life-
punished for stepping up and doing something good that he thought was good, protecting other people. He felt like he had.
because they're
to
not
do
required
something.
to act. If it's going to endanger their life. Once again, the fault lies on one person and one person alone. And he paid the price with
Yeah,
his life.
unfortunately.
He paid the price. We get a lot of comments and stuff on the case that we was on a while back about people. Guys, when people give their life up, I don't care if it's de-lifing themselves or what,
Hmm.
they've paid the ultimate price. So, I mean, we can talk about Mr. Neely all day, and I'm talking about him, but I'm trying to compare who was at fault here. And it definitely wasn't Mr. Penny or nobody on that rail that day.
No.
I wish some of the family had stepped up and helped Mr. Neely. I wish he would have been given a home to live in or
Yeah.
some food to eat.
Roof over his head. Yeah.
Marine Corps Martial Arts, MAT, MCMAP.
Hmm.
Penny held a green belt. Any
Right.
of you that's involved in martial arts or
He started out as a white belt,
what's
which is
the ultimate?
beginner. Hmm.
Ultimate's black belt.
Right.
Expert is a black belt. Everybody's heard of black belts.
Right.
He's a green belt. Green belt's intermediate.
Yeah.
And different styles have different belts, different classes, but it
Hmm.
usually goes white, yellow, blue, green, brown, black. So
Right.
green is an intermediate. He's in
Right.
the middle. He's not an expert, definitely not a beginner.
Right.
And he was a green belt in martial arts. We'll hear more about that when the Marine Corps instructor shows up and talks about his training and the proper way to do this technique.
Hmm.
And whether he'll talk, whether he can, because you can watch the video, you can see where his elbow's at. You can see what's going on there. Look at the difference in this and look at the difference in that.
When they have the arm here.
Look at your forearm going straight across somebody's toe. There's a choke.
Right. Because it's pressing.
There's a restraint.
Yeah.
Just an intermediate. The View said, mentioning Jordan Neely's arrest record is victimizing him all over. again.
Re-victimizing.
Re-victimizing him all over. Victimizing him. They've turned him into the victim here.
Wow.
42 arrests and even had an active felony
Exactly.
assault warrant out on him that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
That day. A felony assault. He had assaulted somebody else and had an active warrant on him that
Mhm,
day.
mhm.
Had the Narcan not affected him, had he not died of a heart attack or other medical condition that he possibly had,
Right.
or a drug overdose, had he lived that day,
Yeah.
he would have been taken to jail. He had a warrant on him.
No one ever referred to Penny as the aggressor
Yeah,
on that day. No one said that he was the one that was
yeah,
doing it. So.
exactly. He was a defender.
Mhm.
Neely had assaulted others for no reason, punched people, old people. He didn't just punch, he didn't go out and jump on that down the subway. There's women in there. Women. He punches these people that's elderly, 67.
Mhm.
Some people have asked were the victims white? Maybe it was racist. That's a question. The victims that these 42 arrests, even theft or whatever it might be,
Right.
were the victims black or white? Were the victims that were punched? It says how old they are. They're 66, 67-year-old old people, men and women. Were they white or black? Maybe there is some racism here, Mr. Bragg. Maybe there is some racism, but it would have been on the part of Mr. Neely. And we would know that by knowing what the race was that he assaulted.
Mhm.
It's been an interesting case. We'll try to
Yeah.
keep you updated. We'll try to keep you updated. Now, after that was supposed to be the end of it. Got a couple more pages here because we found a couple other things. saw Neely's baby pictures, cute baby, but it's not the case. Had nothing to do with him being a baby. This case is about what he did when he stepped on the subway that what day.
Right.
Just because Penny has Neely in a neck restraint doesn't mean he's flexing or applying pressure to Neely's carotid artery or jugular vein.
Right.
Some said Penny was still choking. First of all, it's not a choke. How can he choke, guys? When you're looking at this, put your hand up there like this. Take your 2 fingers and put down in front of your elbow. See if you can put your 2 fingers down in there. If you can, you're not choking, you're not touching his trachea.
That's a restraint.
You can look at his video there and you'll see that elbow like that. Now, if you see somebody like this right here with their forearm in front of that right there, that's a choke. I can't emphasize it enough. It's just, because I know not everybody on here is martial artists. I know everybody on here don't know this rear neck restraint or the rear naked choke. And again, it's called the wrong thing. It's not a choke. They call it the rear naked choke. It's not a choke. This was the way for Penny to safely secure Neely himself until the police arrived. You know, he didn't know, he didn't have the luxury of knowing that when he got a hold of this guy in the rear neck restraint, that anybody else was going to come to him and help him.
Exactly.
He got him, took him to the ground, and held him there. Thank the Lord. Somebody else stepped up and got a hold of his arms and was trying to help, at least trying to give some assistance.
Right.
But Mr. Penny didn't know that when he got him. So when he got him in a good hold where he could control him until the police came. Was the second fella ever threatened with prosecution? This was a question somebody had on one of these videos. Was he threatened with prosecution if he didn't testify against Penny? Because it's been said now that the fellow that was holding his arms has now said that he told Penny to let him go. You're killing them or something like that. See, again, people don't know how much pressure Mr. Penny was putting on him, if any. Was he putting any pressure? Just because he had him in that hold doesn't mean he's applying pressure. He just don't want to try to get him back in that hold again once he lets him loose or he gets out.
Right.
Unfortunately, Neely was impaired on drugs. It doesn't excuse his actions and threats toward innocent people on the subway that day, placing them in fear of physical injury or death.
You never know these days.
Yeah, never know.
Never know. And then many people say it's nothing more than a political prisoner charged to please the squeaky wheel.
Yeah, is it? And if you guys are right, because I had heard that, but I hadn't checked it. I was going to before we came on, but I forgot. But
Yeah. She said
is this just somebody that wants to please other people? And if it is, sad, because again, he let 5 illegals go for fighting with the police, beating them up. Had the 2 men not been black and white, would there ever been a charge of any kind? If it's black on black, white on white, or black on white, would there ever have been a charge? Has the rule of law been used to please a select few? And we know that. We know it has. It's sad, but it happens.
You have 2 men here. One who joined the U.S. military to serve his country, and the other man has been in trouble, arrested, and incarcerated most of his life. Several times for assaulting the elderly, men and women. Can't or won't hold a job, we don't know. Arrested over 42 times. This was a criminal in all definitions of the word.
Criminal 42 times. I mean, how could you refer to somebody like that anything other than a criminal, a career criminal? That he's 30 years old. He's 30 years old. He's got at least 42 arrests. Wow.
Ooh. Wow, that's a lot. For then after the facts turn this man into a pillar of the community.
And it's all over. The media has taken, and a lot of this happened like Hatfield McCoy feud. Devil Anse Hatfield, a villain, a bad guy.
Yeah.
Randall McCoy, a Christian, good, God-fearing man. And in the end, when the media took over, you had Devil Anse Hatfield, a deserter that turned out to, everybody thinks is a hero. and Randall McCoy the bad guy. And that's not the way it is at all. And that's the same way here. They have taken the bad guy and turned him into, he was in a chokehold. And Mr. Penny has killed him. No, Mr. Penny gave the police a live person when he got up. That person was still alive. They gave him Narcan. Whether that had anything to do with a heart attack, drug overdose, who knows? Sometimes racism is in the very office and courts that prosecutes. Persecutes the person. You persecuted this man. And now you're prosecuting them because you have that authority. Because you have the law on so-called law on your side. And, you know, when we elect these people, you're thinking you're electing people that's going to be fair and honest and do the right thing.
Yeah.
Guys, it's so sad. Is this the same one?
Yep.
Discussed that. That was going to come up. The victims that day were the innocent people on the subway.
Right. Who were forced to be in fear of bodily harm or death by Mr. Neely.
The victim is Daniel Penny. This is not about race. It's about a man, a veteran, stepping up, doing the right thing. And that's what Penny did. It's unfortunate.
Yes, it is. It's very unfortunate.
And Neely was in the condition that he was in.
Right.
That's on him. That's his fault. You know, we're sad. Nobody wants to see nobody de-lifed.
No.
Everybody wants to help somebody. If we'd run up on him, we'd bought him a cheeseburger and a Coke or fries or something. We do that. We're not the only ones. There's people out there that helps people.
I'm glad.
But you don't have to threaten. You can catch more bees with honey than vinegar. You don't threaten people. Get on that subway and say, hey guys, I ain't ate. Ain't got nothing to eat. I ain't got no money. Is anybody on here can help me? You probably got more.
You've got a better
You're
response.
talking New York, so I've not been to New York. I don't know. I don't imagine it's like Kentucky, but most people's good-hearted and will try to
help people.
Okay, unfortunate. We feel sorry for Neely's family. Sorry for him,
Sure.
but this is through no fault of Penny's. He brought this on his own.
Yep.
Guys, we've got a little bit there. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I think you all get the gist of it. Sheila, you got one more video?
Oh, yeah.
Let
Do you
him
want which
have
one?
that one.
This
Go
one?
ahead. That's fine.
This one here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they'll be up on.
Adding he left Mr. Neely lying on the floor unconscious and didn't look back. The defense, meanwhile, painting a different picture of Penny in their opening remarks, agreeing the struggle lasted 5 to 6 minutes, but insists the former Marine never intended to kill Neely, saying he stood up to protect thy neighbor when Jordan Neely began making threats inside the subway car.
Justice for Daniel Penny. Play that last one if you want.
This one?
Whichever one you ain't played. Oh, you got.
I don't think, yeah. This one talks about his.
Guys, you can go on YouTube and Google Daniel Penny, and you can get caught up with if you've not been on this case or watching it. It's an interesting case, and it's going to get more interesting as it turns over and the defense starts putting on their case. They're expecting Mr. Penny to take the stand, which I expect him to. He's a Marine. I expect him to step up and speak.
That's good.
You got anything else?
No, I think that's it.
You're
This one
right.
does not stand a chance in court. Wow.
You're right.
Yeah.
Guys, I've been talking so much. I couldn't see a lot of these, but some of them I have read. And you guys are right on track with. I mean, I guess that's why thanks for watching our channel.
Yes, thank you all.
I think that people has a lot in common when you keep coming back. You must. This is an American and American serviceman. And if we don't speak up, if we don't, again, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And this man's been done unjustly. And I think that's all we've got.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for coming on today.
Thanks to
Magnolia.
For showing Sheila this program.
Right.
That she can put us on here like this and show videos.
Right. And I hope it worked out good. I can't really tell right yet. So
guys, we've got a bunch of YouTuber friends. Duty Ron.
Yes.
Tate. Fishing with Tate, we've met so many. I know I'm leaving. I shouldn't even said nothing because when you mention one, if you don't mention them all, but we're not leaving nobody out intentionally.
Right.
We have got so many YouTubers
Right.
that's come to, and people over here that's
That's
probably not
offered
even
advice.
YouTubers.
Mhm.
I like that, influenced by Jesus. I like that title.
Yeah.
God is great. And
God is great.
we had I'm shifting here, but Sheila's got about 8 or 10 videos we've made over the last week or two. I don't know if you'll ever see them because I got on this really reading the Bible. I used to read it a lot when I was in the military and different things. I know the Bible basically, and then I started posting things and hurt people's feelings. And at least I can tell you here is instead of me arguing with you and calling people out for this or that, Jesus, they said there'll be false prophets out there. We got to watch who we follow.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
we got to take the Bible like a law book. You can't add nothing to it or take nothing away. If the Bible says something, that's what it means.
That's what it stands for.
Jesus didn't say, well, you can do this on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, just don't do it on Thursday. And you can, if it's in the Bible and it says that's not good to do or it's not right, then it's not right.
Right.
I don't have to tell you. You read the Bible. If you can read it just like I do, and God, some people calls it a conscience. It's the Holy Spirit. When you do something you're not supposed to do, or Holy Spirit's going to let you know that you're not fooling nobody. You're not fooling yourself. It is what it is, and it says what it says, and it means what it says. And
Exactly.
I was watching Charles Stanley this morning, Sheila, and
Man.
he says when you stand before God, He's not going to stand there and let you give an excuse and say, well, Lord, I thought it was this. I thought it was, no. Depart from me. I never knew you. That's it. You're not going to have a chance to say, oh, you're still talking.
Are you? Okay, there it goes.
Probably where you want.
I don't know.
Okay, babe, do your thing.
Just a second. I gotta answer one thing there. All right, guys. We hope y'all have a great night. God bless you, each and every one. We couldn't do it without you. You all are awesome. You're an amazing bunch of people.
We don't have one, D. Hensley. We're looking. What church do you guys attend?
Oh,
We
yeah.
love Charles Stanley and love Billy Graham.
Is it not working?
But we don't have a regular church that we attend right now. But thanks for asking. What'd you say, babe? I'm sorry.
Yeah, somebody said no sound, but I think it was earlier.
Oh,
So
sorry.
I got sound. Good. Thank you, Rebecca.
Okay,
All right.
guys.
Thank you all. Have a good night. God bless. Bye.